When preparing for isolation capacity in the event of a bioterrorism or pandemic event, Mintie Technologies' ECU Anti-Room and ECU2 containment units can help your organization establish the necessary protection measures for surge capacity and business continuity planning scenarios. Both the ECU Anti-Room and the ECU2 are clinically tested products to ensure a rapid, safe conversion of patient rooms into isolation rooms by creating a negative pressure airlock between the room, adjoining rooms, and the corridor. The ECU Anti-Room and the larger ECU2 are convenient alternatives to constructing fixed anti-rooms when the need arises for additional airborne infection isolation during a healthcare emergency. Merely placing portable air scrubbers in a room does not create a negative environment as needed to simulate airborne infection isolation, and can present a number of challenges when ducting the unit to the outside, as this means breaching the building's exterior envelope. By pairing a collapsible portable anti-room with a HEPA-filtered negative air machine, the ECU enables both healthcare and non-healthcare organizations to respond rapidly during a crisis. The ECU Anti-Room and the ECU2 can easily be deployed anywhere within the facility to turn a standard patient room into a temporary airborne isolation room in minutes. With proper engineering analysis, they can also be used to convert a larger area, such as an emergency department, gymnasium, community center, meeting rooms, or any indoor area, by positioning ECUs at all points of ingress and egress. The way this works is that the ECU Anti-Room, or ECU2, is positioned in the corridor outside the patient room to be converted. The return air vent in the room is blocked off to prevent recirculation of harmful airborne pathogens, and the flange of the unit is securely fastened to the doorway using tape or Velcro. When a HEPA-filtered negative air machine with a minimum of 300 CFM is attached to the unit, an anti-room airlock is created that will draw the air from the patient room into the ECU, filter it under 99.99% efficient HEPA filtration, and safely recirculate it into the corridor. This negative pressure anti-room airlock in this configuration becomes an extension of the patient room, which will be negative in pressure both to the corridor and the patient room. It is very important that all HEPA-filtered negative air equipment be thoroughly inspected and tested prior to use to ensure the filter's condition and proper installation. After the inspection is performed, the HEPA-filtered air can be safely recirculated back into adjacent spaces of the healthcare facility. A significant benefit of both the ECU Anti-Room and ECU2 is the dual use of these products. They do not need to sit idle in a storage space like most emergency response equipment, as they can be used when performing everyday maintenance or construction activities in patient-occupied areas. This everyday usage benefit not only lowers the cost of purchase and increases the return on investment, but also reinforces training and improves emergency response capability. During a pandemic or bioterrorism event, when large numbers of people present themselves to a healthcare facility emergency department, the need for converting larger spaces into airborne isolation units becomes a reality. These converted areas will not have a pre-established built-in airlock or anti-room to define the isolated space from the normally occupied space, and a temporary airlock typically needs to be installed. The ECU2 in modular configuration, paired with the corridor flange, is a scalable solution that enables organizations to prepare for mass isolation of large interior spaces. If the number of people in these emergency situations should increase, the ECU2 and corridor flange provides a simple and rapid means of expanding the isolated space that will permit additional rooms and spaces to be included behind the airlock. A critical benefit of the ECU2 mass isolation solution is the ability to provide an airlock large enough to move gurneys, beds, and supplies in and out without exposing the normally occupied space to potential infectious airborne contaminants. The corridor flange is a specialized product that increases the containment flexibility of the ECU2 to enable isolation of entire corridors and wings without making any permanent building modifications. The corridor flange zips easily into the ECU2 and is securely attached to the entire circumference of the hallway to form a protective barrier at the entry-exit point of an isolated area. This design permits the corridor flange to be installed in corridors of up to 10 foot 6 in height and up to 10 foot in width, and comfortably seals the area around soffits and handrails. The ECU Anteroom and the ECU2 and corridor flange gives hospitals, public agencies, and private organizations a new readiness tool for responding to individual and mass isolation and surge capacity requirements through indoor airborne containment.